Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It all started when Russia sent around 20 drones into Poland. Some of those drones were destroyed on site, and Poland went on notice Russia is taking its hybrid war against Europe to another level. About 2 months later, Russia has gone even further than drone incursions with an act of sabotage that has left Poland furious. Enough is enough. Poland is ready to bite back. In a shock move, Poland deploys 10 Zeros, Zero troops after the most recent Russian attack. Tensions that were already simmering have just exploded. On November 19, along with several other media outlets, reported that Poland has announced the launch of a new military plan dubbed Operation Horizon. The country will mobilize 10 Zero of its soldiers, who will be sent to some of Poland's key infrastructural locations. These soldiers will stand guard, watching for saboteurs and anything else that seems untoward. Why, a couple of days before, an explosion targeted a Polish train, and Russia is the prime suspect. We'll provide more details about this suspected act of sabotage later in the video. As for Operation Horizon, Polish Defense, Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz announced its launch at a press conference, and said that the operation is directly tied to tackling acts of sabotage being conducted by Russian intelligence agents. Kosiniak-Kamysz added that this new operation isn't all that Poland is going to do to confront the emerging Russian threat to its infrastructure. Rather, it is a first step, and additional measures, including the potential expulsion of Russian diplomats and the expansion of cybersecurity programs, are all under consideration. Notes from Poland provides more details, along with direct quotes from the Polish defense minister. The outlet says that the Polish authorities will also be encouraging everyday Poles to report any suspicious incidents that they see, especially near key infrastructure. The hope seems to be that the combination of an extensive military deployment and greater vigilance on the part of the citizenry will be enough to catch future Russian saboteurs in the act, and before they can do any real damage. The acts of sabotage that have occurred, including unprecedented cases of planting explosives intended to disrupt vital infrastructure, require intensified action and cooperation between the security services. Kosiniak-Kamysz blared as he announced Operation Horizon. He was joined during his press conference by the Chief of the General Staff of the Polish Armed Forces, Kukua, who explained the goals of the operation. Kukua said that Poland would ensure unified command and cooperation between several branches of the Polish security services to make Operation Horizon a reality, before adding, "Our goals will be to prevent acts of sabotage, limit the freedom of action of potential perpetrators, as well as to activate citizens, encouraging them to more closely observe their immediate surroundings and report situations that may raise concerns." Poland wants Vladimir Putin to pay attention to all of this. It is telling Russia's leader that his saboteurs won't catch Poland out again. And if they do, they'll have 10 Zero soldiers and a more vigilant public to watch out for as they try to make their escape. Aiding in Poland's efforts to enroll its own citizens into its new anti-sabotage operation, an app will be launched that makes it easy for civilians to report potential sabotage incidents. Kukua says that this app is already in development and will likely launch at some point in late November or early December for testing. Presumably, this means that the users themselves will also help to test the app prior to the expected release of a completed version in mid-December. There are no details about the capabilities of this app, though some sort of messaging service that allows the submission of photographs and videos seems a likely approach for Poland to take. There is one caveat to Operation Horizon. It has to be approved. Specifically, Kosiniak-Kamysz says he will need to issue a formal request to the Polish President Karol Nawrocki, who is also the commander-in-chief of the country's armed forces, to get the green light for the deployment of 10,000 soldiers. This request is unlikely to cause any issues with Kosiniak, Kamaz being confident enough that he has already provided a tentative date of November 21 for the beginning of Operation Horizon. That means the operation will likely be underway by the time you're watching this video. Assuming all goes to Kosiniak, Kamaz's plan, Putin has just been put on notice. 10,000 Polish troops are ready to counter any of the hybrid warfare efforts that Russian forces make inside Poland. And as if to put an exclamation point on the upcoming operation, Poland has taken another step toward decoupling itself from any Russian influence with a move that will make it even harder for Putin to get his way in the country. On November 19, The Guardian reported that Poland's foreign minister, Radosław Sikorski, had announced the closure of the last remaining Russian consulate in Poland. Consulates are small diplomatic missions, often located in a country's capital city, though not always, that exist to provide support services for the citizens of a nation who are living in the country where the consulate is located. In this case, that means the Russian consulate that may have been responsible for tasks such as issuing passports and helping Russian immigrants with administrative matters will disappear. Poland's message to Putin becomes even stronger with this closure. The country doesn't just want to keep Russian saboteurs out. It will also make it harder for Russian immigrants, both future and present, to live in Poland. In other words, there will be no Russian influence left inside Poland if the country has its way. Sikorski pointed out that the closure of the final Russian consulate, which was located in Gdańsk, will not be our full response to what he has labeled a Russian act of terrorism. Putin's mouthpiece, Dmitry Peskov, seized on news of the closure to accuse Poland of trying to shut down all diplomatic relations while ignoring the fact that Russia itself is the reason for this shutdown. Relations with Poland have completely deteriorated, Peskov said. This is probably a manifestation of this deterioration. The Polish authorities desire to reduce any possibility of consular or diplomatic relations to zero. Can anybody blame Poland for wanting zero diplomatic relations with Russia? Putin keeps ordering hybrid warfare operations in Poland, so why would the country want to use diplomacy instead of a showcase of defensive force? That force is what the deployment of 10,000 troops to key Polish infrastructure represents, and the reason why it's happening relates to something to which we alluded earlier. Russia has attempted to destroy a Polish train in a shocking act of sabotage. Allegedly, reports covering the attack surfaced on November 17, with the BBC noting that the Polish Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, had labeled the strike an unprecedented act of sabotage. He also said that Poland would work tirelessly to catch the saboteurs, regardless of who their backers might be, and that the attack was clearly designed to destroy the targeted train. It appears that the saboteurs weren't 100% successful in achieving that goal, though their attack did cause extensive damage to train lines, which caused delays. Initially, Poland was wary of blaming Russia. It didn't want to start pointing fingers before it had all of the facts. However, it wasn't long before a Polish government spokesperson named Jacek Dobrzynski revealed that Poland has a pretty good idea of who had ordered the sabotage. Everything points to them being Russian special services, Dobrzynski reported, adding that Russia wants to shake Polish society to its core with tactics designed to strike fear into the hearts of the country's public. Euromaidan Press provided a few more details about the attack in a November 20 report on Operation Horizon. It confirmed that the explosion created by the saboteurs failed to strike any trains, suggesting that it was mistimed or was instead designed to damage rail tracks enough to cause a train to derail. The damage that was done to tracks also happened to be on a line that Poland uses to ship aid deliveries into Ukraine, which lends more credence to the argument that it was Russia that was behind the sabotage. The outlet also reports that Polish media have suggested that the attack was carried out using explosives that the saboteurs triggered using cell phones, with that possibility being shown as likely due to Polish law enforcement seizing SIM cards in the wake of the attack. Speaking about the Polish authorities, it hasn't taken them long to identify the individuals they believe are responsible. On November 18, the BBC reported that Tusk had revealed that the saboteurs were likely a pair of Ukrainian citizens who had been working for Russian intelligence services. Though Tusk didn't disclose the names of the suspects, he did describe what Poland believes to have been their movements before the act of sabotage. Both of the Ukrainians managed to cross into Poland via Belarus at some point during the fall, meaning they likely planned their operation for several weeks, if not months, before carrying it out. The suspects conducted their crossing at Tiraspol, which is in the southwest region of Belarus, and they had fled back to Belarus using that crossing in the wake of the attack. Tusk didn't reveal any more information on November 18. However, Euromaidan Press's November 20 report suggests that the two saboteurs weren't acting alone. They may have had 4 accomplices, also Ukrainians acting on orders from Russia, who stayed behind in Poland while the 2 perpetrators made their escapes. The outlet doesn't say what these accomplices did, though it's possible they would have arranged lodgings and perhaps conducted reconnaissance for the saboteurs ahead of the attack. As you may have guessed, Russia has issued a response to the attacks on Poland that is typical of the Putin regime, denial tinged with mockery. Russia's chargé d'affaires in Poland, Andrzej Ordash, was quick to claim that his country had no involvement in the attack. Russia generally does not comment on the various absurd statements made by the Polish authorities, whose aim is to stoke Russophobia and war hysteria within Polish society, Ordash said in the wake of the attack. He then added that, "We would like to note that Russia currently faces far more important tasks, including developing ties with international partners who wish to do so, than carrying out any completely unnecessary unfriendly actions toward Poland, which for 12 years has systematically and deliberately been destroying its relations with our country. Surprise, surprise, Russia didn't do it, and anything that might have happened is all Poland's fault anyway. Of course, Peskov had to get a word in as well. He channeled the collective spirit of the Kremlin, telling Russian state media, "It would have been really strange if Russia hadn't been blamed first. Russia is accused of all acts of hybrid and direct war. In Poland, Russophobia is certainly rampant there. Poland won't take any of these mocking messages seriously. This isn't about Russophobia, hysteria, or anything else that Russia's spokespeople claim. All of the evidence suggests that Russia launched yet another hybrid warfare strike on Poland, and Poland is doing everything in its power to ensure such a strike doesn't happen again. The launch of Operation Horizon goes a long way toward Poland protecting itself against future strikes." And if recent reports are to be believed, Poland is also well on its way toward punishing the people that it claims are responsible for the train attack, after raising the threat level to Charlie. On some of Poland's rail network, Poland is working on extraditing the saboteurs that it says have fled to Belarus. The Charlie designation is another act designed to prevent future sabotage, and it's the second, highest threat level that Poland can use to denote what is happening. It's the third of 4 threat levels created under Polish anti-terrorism laws, and it essentially means that governmental institutions are obligated to increase their control over relevant infrastructure and public places. Hence Operation Horizon. With that threat level cemented, Poland is working on bringing the saboteurs to justice. On November 20, Reuters reported that Poland has sent a formal request to Belarus for the extradition of the two Ukrainian citizens it is now accusing of conducting the bombing on behalf of Russia. That request has been delivered to the Belarusian chargé d'affaires in Poland, and the partial names of the two suspects have been released to the public. Their names are Alexander K. and Yevgeny II, and Poland is desperate to get its collective hands on them. Whether it will or not is another matter. Belarus has already proven itself willing to act as a haven for people that Poland wants to charge with crimes, as proven by the country taking in the former Polish judge Tomasz Schmidt. He is wanted in Poland on espionage charges, but Belarus granted him asylum in 2024. It would be unsurprising if the two suspects of this train bombing enjoy the same treatment, meaning that Poland may not get the full measure of revenge that it seeks. If justice isn't served, at least vigilance will be raised. Operation Horizon will ensure that, as will the 10,000 soldiers deployed into various areas of Poland. The question now is simple: what happens next? At the time of creating this video, Operation Horizon hadn't officially launched. It appears unlikely that any barriers will be presented to that launch, but it's important to point out that there is a possibility that the 10,000 soldiers don't get deployed at all. Assuming the request for the operation is approved, Russia at least doesn't have to deal with a buildup of Polish forces on the country's borders with Belarus and the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. That buildup already happened back in September, when Poland sent 40,000 soldiers to those borders. What Russia does have to deal with is that its hybrid strike on Poland's railways may have had an unintended effect. Putin's goal with these types of strikes is often to sow the seeds of division, be they within a country or between the many European nations that Russia targets. That may have been one of the goals of the November train strike. Putin might have hoped that Poland's politicians would get lost arguing among themselves, which could have opened the door for future strikes. But that hasn't happened. Instead, as Notes from Poland reports, the strike on Poland's railway system appears to have further united the country in its anti-Russia approach. The outlet notes that Noraki, who must provide permission for the launch of Operation Horizon, is on the opposite side of the Polish political fence to Kosiniak-Kamysz, but that shouldn't make a difference in this instance. Noraki is aligned with the opposition and has regularly clashed with the government. Notes from Poland says, however, the two sides have generally sought to present a united front on issues relating to national security. That united front is set to be strengthened in a day or so. Further unity also appears to have been created between Poland and the nation, against which Putin is waging war Ukraine. Tusk met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on November 19 to discuss the acts of sabotage, which will be a particular concern to Zelensky due to them being carried out by Ukrainian citizens seemingly under Russia's influence. There doesn't appear to have been any blame, flinging or finger-pointing during this meeting, as the two leaders instead focused on what they could do to prevent something like that attack from happening again. The answer Tusk and Zelensky came up with, as reported by the former on X, was even deeper cooperation. Today, with Zelensky, we agreed forms of cooperation between Polish and Ukrainian special services and state railways. The goal will be identification of people suspected of collaborating with Russia and prevention of acts of sabotage, Tusk declared on the social media platform. Zelensky added that he agreed with Tusk to set up a joint Ukrainian, Polish group dedicated to preventing such acts of sabotage, indicating that there will be a new degree of intelligence sharing between Ukraine and Poland that hasn't been seen before. Putin wouldn't have wanted to see that. Russian operations aren't supposed to strengthen the intelligence frameworks of Putin's enemies. Sticking with the topic of unity, the sabotage of Poland's railways was also a key topic of discussion during a November 20 meeting of the European Union's, or EU, 27 foreign ministers in Brussels. The EU foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, has already said that the act of sabotage highlights the unprecedented risk to European transport infrastructure. She added, "We have to have a strong response. To protect our critical infrastructure, send a message of unity to Russia that they cannot get away with these attacks, but at the same time give assurances to our societies that there is nothing to be afraid of." So, perhaps Operation Horizon isn't just the starting point of new measures that Poland will be introducing to tackle Russia's hybrid warfare tactics. It may also be the starting point for EU-wide measures designed to do the same thing. As for Russia, it's continuing its airstrikes against Ukraine, and it doesn't care how those strikes affect Poland. On November 20, Russia launched a horde of drones and missiles at the Ukrainian city of Ternopil, killing at least 26 people and injuring dozens more, including 15 children. Another 3 children were sadly among the dead. That Ukrainian city is also close to the Polish border, and Poland was forced to scramble NATO fighter jets to ensure that none of Russia's drones violated its airspace. Even when it isn't attacking Poland directly, Russia is forcing Poland's military to respond to what it's doing in Ukraine. Russia isn't going to stop its hybrid warfare campaign. Poland knows that, which is why Operation Horizon, along with any other measures that it takes, is necessary. Poland has been placed in defense mode, and it has responded with the deployment of 10,000 soldiers who are in place to ensure that Russia can't attack again. But Poland isn't the only country that Putin has targeted in recent days outside of Ukraine. At around the same time that Poland has been dealing with train sabotage, a Russian spy ship has been spending a suspicious amount of time in British waters. That spy ship just targeted the U.K.'s Air Force in a way never seen before. Find out more in our video, and remember to subscribe to Weapons and Empires for more videos covering Russia's latest hybrid warfare attacks and Europe's responses.